We do have a number of honored guests with us today in the audience, and I do want to acknowledge those as we get started. Certainly, to begin, we have His Excellency Ambassador Namik Tan, the Ambassador of Turkey, who will be a featured speaker today. Also in the crowd here with us is the Consul General of Germany, who has joined us. We have the Honorable Ali Akdem Odum, the Consul General of Turkey, is with us today. We have also the State Senator, the Honorable Rodney Ellis, is among us, I believe. Or he's late, he's on his way, so we will acknowledge him. In addition, we were looking for Adrian Garcia, the Sheriff of Harris County, who is also on his way, presumably with Mr. Ellis. In any case, we have among us additionally honored guests with us today and distinguished persons. All of you, of course, are distinguished in your field, and we're looking forward to an excellent presentation. Before we get started with our lunch and with our featured speaker today, there will be a presentation initially by Mr. Gökhan Özen, who is coming up now and is going to make an announcement in connection with housekeeping for the Texas Turkish American Chamber of Commerce.
I'd like to welcome all distinguished guests here today, and I'd like to welcome our guests from Turkey. Thank you very much for being here today, and it's a great pleasure and honor for us to be here serving this luncheon program. I'm the youngest member of Texas Turkish American Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to share with you a resolution by the Texas House of Representatives, which has been passed just 3 days ago. I'm not going to read whole stuff, but I just want to highlight a few parts of it. And based in Houston and active in Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, the Turkish Council is an independent umbrella organization with the positive goal of fostering interaction and good fellowship between Americans of Eurasian descent and wider community. Whereas the Council promotes its objectives through a variety of outreach activities, such as town hall meetings, strategic partnerships, executive forums, luncheons like we are having today, trade mission trips, and sister city pacts. Its member organizations include the Raindrop Turkish House, an educational, charitable, and social group that supports the annual Turkey Cultures and Children's Festival and the Turkish Language and Culture Olympiad. The Raindrop organization has a presence throughout Texas, with a branch in Richardson that serves the Dallas area, and additional locations in Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Bryan, Lubbock, and El Paso. Also affiliated with the council are the Texas Turkish American Chamber of Commerce and the Institute of Interfaith Dialogue. And finally, they mentioned that an official copy of this resolution be prepared for the Turkish Council of Americans and Eurasians as an expression of high regard by the Texas House of Representatives. It means we are on the right way. And as the youngest member of the chamber, I want to say here, we'll keep working hard and hard and hard to make better life for the world, to make better life for the United States, to make better life for our both nations. Thank you very much for being here today again. Thank you.
With that, let's go ahead and get started with our lunch. We will be joining you in a few minutes to begin our main program with our featured speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Adrian Garcia, We're going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Adrian Garcia at this time. He is currently the sheriff, the popular and dynamic sheriff of Harris County. He's going to make a few comments. He has an extremely busy schedule today and needs to catch an airplane. However, he does want to address the group, and we're going to go ahead and have him come up at this time.
Thank you so much. It is my honor, and I will tell you that it is a pleasure to be with an incredible community that is contributing so much to the Houston, well, forget Houston, to the Harris County community. Harris County is much bigger, much broader, much more dynamic, and we definitely embrace the diversity that exists here. I was mentioning to the great ambassador that I've had the pleasure of visiting Istanbul. I did not do myself a service of visiting it properly. I flew in, gave a speech, and then flew out. So I got a very short introduction to the Bosphorus and to the Blue Temple, and so I need to the Blue Mosque. I need to go back and see much more and enjoy a few more days. I did have Turkish coffee. That kept me up for a week. But listen, I am here. I see many of my dear friends. Mustafa, good to see you. And I want to say to Mr. Ambassador that Harris County is a tremendous community. We have so many people from different walks of life. But we find that everyone comes here with the interest of working hard, playing by the rules, contributing to the community, and then leaving behind tremendous treasures of their culture. That is what has made us an incredible community here in the Harris County area. And so we're very proud to have your visit here. We embrace you as we embrace the rest of the Turkish Americans and Turkish community that make so many great contributions here. But to make you feel at home and to make sure that you take back a little of us, I have brought with me, there he goes. You know, I had a little bit of Turkish coffee, but it would not be right if you left Texas without an official Harris County Sheriff's Deputy hat. So.
This is great. This is great. Look at this.
I'm the sheriff. This is the Sharif.
Absolutely, we do have the same thing.
That's
you know?
right. That's right.
And sir, let me just give a couple of words for this wonderful hat first, which made me even more handsome.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. But you took a challenge. Maybe I come a couple of months later and assume my duties there.
Hey, that's right. That's right.
And sir, thank you so very much on behalf of all our community members here sitting around several of those tables. Really, we are delighted and honored to have you here today with us. This is first thing. The second thing, we express to you, sir, our greatest of all appreciations for giving a powerful embrace to this community, which has, I believe, and I'm pretty sure, have brought the peace and solidarity and the principles that you have outlined eloquently a while ago, and they will stay to contribute the power of this Harris County.
That's right. That's
And
right.
thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr.
Thank
Miles.
you. We appreciate it.
Continuing with our program, at this point in time, I'd like to invite up to the podium Mr. Dwayne Priestley, who...
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Ambassador, welcome to Houston. It's always our pleasure to have such dignitaries come to Houston. This is a very dynamic city, and I was asked to talk a little bit about the Houston economy. And as some of you may know, that a few months ago, the Economist newspaper did a feature about Texas and California, sort of comparing the two and using different metrics to sort of gauge what influence each one of the states was going to have on the future direction of the United States. And as you probably know, California has for many years been the barometer of the United States. Well, for us, those of us who live in Texas, and particularly here in Houston, we were not surprised by the conclusions that the writers were drawn to from this article. And they concluded that Texas is now the leading state in the United States for a number of reasons, but particularly economically, socially, politically. And we will well likely set the trend for the rest of the United States because we have become such a dynamic state. And you're also probably aware that Texas was the last state to go into the economic downturn, which is, of course, the worst economic circumstances we had since the Great Depression. And as many states grapple with high unemployment rates, very happy to state that in this past year, 2010, Houston added 13,000 people to the payroll. Now, 13,000 may seem like a pretty meager number, but when you compare it to the 102,000 jobs that were lost the year prior, it's a marked improvement. And I believe that most forecasters consider that we will continue to gain employment, particularly in the energy sector. And I note that a barrel of oil is trading for about $90 a barrel right now. That's always good for Houston because it means that companies are going to add to the payroll. I think that Houston and Texas as a whole, we have an unemployment rate that compared to the national rate of 9.4 is pretty good. And that rate is 8.3 right now. And I suspect that hopefully over the next term of a year or so, it will continue to go lower. Why, might you ask, is Houston and Texas so well positioned to survive the latest economic downturn? For someone such as myself who's moved to Texas 3 times, I think I have a unique perspective on that, and much of that I believe lies in the history of this city. I moved here first in 1978 from New York. I moved back in 1985 from Boston, and then I most recently moved back in 2000 after living in Washington, D.C. for 12 years. But in the early 80s, Houston went through 2 significant oil shocks. And I recall when I was a student at the University of Houston working for a small exploration company, barrel of oil was trading for $8 a barrel. And it's interesting that that's what my salary per hour was. And I sort of argued with my boss for the longest time that my salary shouldn't be tied to the barrel of oil, but it was. But one of the interesting outcomes of the 1980s for Houston was how it decided it needed to diversify away from being so reliant on the energy industry. And it's estimated that in the 1970s and 1980s, about 60% of Houston's economy was reliant upon the oil and gas industry. Now that figure is around 40%. And as the preeminent export promotion agency of the United States government, and we work with local companies to help them export, I am simply amazed on a daily basis at the variety and entrepreneurship of companies in Houston across a vast array of sectors and abilities, particularly in the information technology sector. And I think it's also interesting to note that the 10-county region of Houston and Harris County has a GDP of $435 billion. There are only 27 countries in the United States with a larger GDP than the 10-county region of Houston, including such countries as Belgium and Malaysia. And I think that one of the things that is very important for Houston are a lot of the intangibles that come out of a city that's able to transform itself. I mentioned I moved here several times. In 2000, when I moved back from Washington, D.C., early after that time, Houston became a minority-majority city. That means that there's not one ethnic group that comprises more than 50% of the population. To me, that is one of the greatest assets of Houston because it allows people to move to Houston and not only be absorbed by the city, but it allows them to be prosper. And I note that in the time that I have moved back over the past decade, we have around 200,000 Asian Americans in Houston. I understand there are about 40,000 Indians from South Asia, about this equivalent number from Pakistan. We have a large population from Nigeria, and that diversity of population allows us to do many things. And I think one of the more interesting and intangible parts of Houston is, having worked with my friends in the Consular Corps, the number of those consular officials who will often end up in Houston at the end of their career, and they simply decide to stay here, and I can't tell you how many times it's happened. So we in the Commerce Department like to use numbers, so allow me to give you some numbers to tell you why Houston has got such a great economy. Most Texans, and I can assure you most Houstonians, are unaware of these two facts. Texas, for the 8th consecutive year, was the #1 exporting state in the United States, much to the chagrin of California again. I am often surprised to see the reaction I get when I tell people, particularly from Washington, D.C., that Houston is the #2 exporting city in the United States. In 2009, Houston exported $77 billion worth of goods. The only other city that had more exports was New York City, and about half of their exports was recyclable materials, in other words, trash. We don't export trash. We export stuff. We make things here, and we export all over the world. And according to the Census Bureau, I did an exercise recently for my colleagues in Washington, and I was stunned to see a figure from the Census Bureau that there are 60,000 companies in Houston that are export ready. That means at some point in their time, they have exported. And that is a stunning figure for me because I know we work with about 3,000 companies, but to see that figure was pretty eye-opening. Houston has some of the best infrastructure in the United States. You probably know that Senator, he's going to kill me for this, but President Obama made an emphasis on his State of the Union speech that we have to improve our infrastructure. Houston has one of the best infrastructures in the United States. Our highway system allows the ports to feed into 1/3 of the United States population within a 12-hour drive. Our airport and the port system are among the best. I believe I'll have to look at my notes, Houston Airport System ranks 4th in terms of multi-airport systems and 6th globally. It has served last year almost 50 million people came through the Houston airport system, and I think more importantly, the amount of air tonnage has increased to 810 million pounds in last year, and with the recent opening of the cold storage facility, I think that there's more opportunity for Houston airport system to globally serve the economy. I can't understate the importance of the Port of Houston to the local economy. It is one of the largest ports in the United States, and it plays a vital role to the economic vitality of Houston. There are more than 3,100 Houston companies that do business abroad, and more than 700 of these are foreign-owned. Of the world's largest 100 non-U.S. companies, 62 of them have operations in Houston.